Chapter 1. I pulled into the Lee Delamere services at around 10:15 p.m. I'd been driving for just 3 hours but was feeling stiff in the shoulders and had begun to drop off at intervals. As the signs on the M4 motorway had informed me, driving while tired can kill. So I decided to pull in, have a piss and a coffee, and maybe catch a bit of shut-eye in the van before moving on. I would not be able to get much done before morning anyway. So I might as well sleep here, as in Cornwall. It was fairly busy inside, but that didn't surprise me as the motorway was also busy. There had been massive tailbacks earlier in the day due to a pile-up just outside Exeter, and it had taken hours to clear the backlog of vehicles, which was also why the other drivers were tired and irritable too. I queued for the toilet, then for a coffee, and after that decided to grab a burger, which I also queued for. By the time I got back to my transit custom, I was ready to rip the face off anyone who looked at me funny. Fortunately for them, nobody did. I sat in the van stuffing my face and washing down the delicious beef and cheese bun with black coffee. I felt less aggressive towards the human race after that. Slightly. It was now approaching 11 p.m, so I threw the food packaging in the passenger side footwell and stretched out across the bench seat in order to get some sleep. My mind wasn't so keen to submit to my will, though. I had to endure half an hour of rumination concerning the mine and whether I would be able to maximise my investment. If indeed it was an investment rather than a fool's errand, which I suspected it was. The whole idea was far-fetched and the longest of long shots, but it wouldn't be the first time I'd thrown good money away on an outsider, and it wouldn't be the last. I had known Stephen Lewis for over 40 years. I'd been a frequent visitor to his home many times due to my friendship with his son James. Although James and I had ceased to be bosom buddies many years ago over a dispute concerning the ownership of a battered Ford Fiesta, which wasn't worth the pain I had suffered when I finally took possession of the alleged vehicle after a vicious fistfight in the street outside the Lewis's breaker's yard. James was furious but did not involve the police. Nobody likes the police. Nobody I know likes the police. James swore he'd make me pay for stealing his car, although we had bought it together. I had put in just over half of the money. James's father, Stephen, had spent hours working on the engine, the basis of James's conviction that he should have the car when he moved away to Yorkshire to live with a scrawny girl from Leeds who he had met in a nightclub in Penzance and who had informed him that she was pregnant. I had not seen James since, and that was over 20 years ago. I did hear that the girl had indeed been up the duff, but there had been some dispute as to the identity of the rightful culprit, due to it coming to light that she had slept with half of Yorkshire and various other counties. James had chosen to disbelieve all of the rumours and submitted to family life willingly. Last I'd heard, he had become a heavy drinker and been seen with some very chavvy hookers. Just rumours. Maybe. I got underway around 7 a.m. next morning and drove slowly towards Bristol on the M4, switching onto the M5 and heading into Somerset. The roads were much quieter now, although the early truckers were out in force. I was passing the Exeter junction by 8:30, and I was getting deep into Cornish territory by 11. I took my time, wasn't particularly looking forward to seeing Stephen Lewis again. He was an awkward bugger sometimes. Plus, I'd always felt he considered me partially responsible for the fact that his son, James, had moved so far away. Maybe he was partly right on that score, but there was nothing anyone could do about it now. Years had passed. Much water under the proverbial bridge had indeed flowed. On the other hand, it had been Stephen who had given me a purpose. I had just got out of Wormwood Scrubs for my part in an armed robbery. I was guilty, perhaps the only person in the whole prison to admit it. I had taken part willingly, knowingly, and with only one motive: gold. 1/2 a ton of the stuff from out of a security van. We got away with it too, for a while. Then it seemed someone had grassed us up and we all went our separate ways. I to the Scrubs, Colin Sharp to Pentonville, Daz Fitch to Dartmoor, and Gene Hutton to Holloway. I'd trusted all of my colleagues and still had doubts that any of them would be induced to inform the police about anything. But someone had put the boot in and we'd all got nicked, charged and sent down. I did 8 years. Colin and Daz got 7 years each, and Gene got off with a comparatively light 5 years. I had received letters from all of them during my time in Her Majesty's holiday camp, and they each professed to be as baffled as to how we were caught as I was.